Morning, everyone. We have some breaking news. NATO to increase its presence in the Baltic and Eastern Mediterranean seas. The idea is to send a message to Russia not to intervene in Ukraine. We'll have that and more right here, right now on the News Hub. Good morning and welcome. I'm Simon Constable. And for more on this story, we go to WSJ's Naftali Bendavid live from NATO Headquarters in Brussels. Naftali, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So this is just coming out today. What exactly will NATO be doing?
Well, you're right. It is just coming out. In fact, we're still in the process of learning more about it. But what we do know is that NATO is saying that they're going to increase their sorties, their aircraft sorties over the Baltic nations, and they're also going to send ships into the Eastern Mediterranean and into the Baltic Sea. They're also going to deploy some military staff to beef up training, military exercise, readiness in Eastern Europe.
That is good. They're already there, but they're beefing it up. Doesn't that present a bit of a risk of a conflict breaking out accidentally when you have more military, head-to-head with other military? Things can happen.
Yeah, I think you'd have to say that there's always an increased risk when there's increased military activity of any kind. But an important thing to know about this is NATO's attempt to calibrate its response. That is to say, it's balancing an attempt to signal that it's being that it has showing resolve and being forceful without doing anything unduly provocative or aggressive that could provoke a Russian response.
Okay, and provoking a Russian response is nothing that they want to happen, and likewise, I think the Russians don't want to provoke a NATO response either. Now, there are diplomatic talks scheduled to happen. Tell us about those.
Yeah, I think this all has to be seen in the context of talks Thursday in Geneva. If they do in fact occur, as it looks like they're going to, it would be the highest level talks by far between Russia and the new government in Ukraine. And so NATO is being very careful to not overshadow those or to beat its chest militarily too much just a day before such an important diplomatic meeting. Everybody says that the real solution here is diplomatic, not military.
So you're at NATO headquarters now. What is the tone there? Is the tone one of caution? Is it, we're going to show them? What's the feeling like?
Well, I think the feeling is that it's very important not to falter, to sort of show that this isn't going to be something that they lose interest in anytime soon, that they're not going to, move on to other things, to really send a signal to Moscow that they are going to be very vigilant here. At the same time, there's a tremendous amount of caution about going overboard and overly provocative. But the last thing that's really important to know is NATO is 28 countries, and they don't all see things the same way. So it's a big alliance that has to balance some countries toward the east that tend to be more in favor of stronger action, and some countries in the West, at least in Western Europe, that tend to be in favor of a more cautious approach.
Okay, a complex alliance there. Thank you very much, Naftali Bendavid, coming to us live from NATO headquarters. And we'll have more coverage on that as we get more details on that NATO action.